Good evening, everybody. Well, it's the Easter holiday weekend, so I'm sure there's probably not going to be very many people watching tonight. And if you are, I'm sorry you don't have anything else that you'd rather be doing. And honestly, I'm glad you decided to come in. Tonight is primarily just going to be kind of a hangout, hobby, chill stream. I might talk a little bit about some of the stuff that I did in the military because as of Thursday, I am officially free from the United States Army after 23 years. And tonight I might talk a little bit about some of the stuff that I did over my time in service, but I want to actually outline what I'm going to talk about before I actually go and start doing a massive dump, because some of it is going to be stuff that you guys are going to really enjoy. Some of it you're going to find just absolutely nauseatingly boring. And honestly, with what I'm doing tonight, you're already going to be bored enough because part of it's going to be quasi watching paint dry. But if he is ready to join in, I have got one guy in the backstage this evening, and that is Jackal with another one of his infamous screen names. Fortunately, at least it's YouTube friendly. So, Jackal, go ahead and let me know in the private chat when you're ready for me to bring you back in, and I'll go ahead and pull your screen back up. But ladies and gentlemen, like I said, it is the Easter weekend. I know most of you, or many of you, probably don't celebrate, and I understand that. I respect that. But just don't pull a Biden on us. Okay, we have Broken Pine and St. Louis Arch in the chat, in the audience and chat this evening. So welcome to both of you. So Jackal, how has your week been?
Oh, mundane. Mundane.
So nothing really all that interesting, exciting, or worth chatting about?
As I tell everybody that calls me, I'm a very boring individual, so nothing new happened. What the frick frack? Okay, I just saw those guys just nosedive their aircraft into the water. Right off the deck. Nice.
Are you flying a Corsair this time?
No, this is a Hellcat.
Okay, I thought from the angle I thought you had gull wings.
They're slightly gull-winged, but no, this is a F6F Hellcat.
Yeah, St. Louis Arch, that's kind of my reaction as well. We're not going to go into detail as to what that thing with Biden is tonight because I want to keep this as apolitical as possible.
He also probably wants to keep this as non-poop covered as possible.
Exactly. MM43, welcome to the party. If anyone in the chat is interested in jumping in, feel free to let me know. I will go ahead and drop the invite. The only rule I have is good audio and a YouTube friendly screen name and avatar. Besides that, I don't really care. I'm not like certain people who insist on you having a fully perfect setup to come onto the stream with. I will be looking at it in the backstage to make sure it's YouTube friendly before I bring you on, though. So that
But
being
beware,
said,
if you do come in here, it does smell like paint because he's painting.
you know the funny thing, Jackal? These are primarily water-based paints I work with, and the worst odor you're likely to encounter is going to come from my glue, or from the glue that I use, not the paint.
Water-based paints.
Yeah, they mix well. If I decide I want to mix up a custom color, all I need is a empty bottle and just a smidge of medium, and I can get a really good custom color done with very little effort. Oil-based paints, there's a lot more that goes into it. But like I said initially, as of Thursday, I am now officially retired from the United States Army.
He's
Did
free.
I did 23 years listening to people who probably didn't need or didn't deserve to be listened to, probably needed to get a size 8 regular combat boot shoved up their fourth point of contact. So far, they would have needed to open their mouth for the boot to be retrieved. And somehow I survived. Almost almost sounds like it should be the title of some Lifetime TV series or movie. I survived.
Oh, frick, damn it. Yeah. Haha.
So you're redoing the Battle of Midway, Jackal.
Yeah, and I'm already not liking how this is going. I hate these zeros and their daggone 20mm cannons. Wait a minute. Ooh, wait a minute. That was one of those kamikaze ones. Wait a minute. I saw that.
Hey, MM43, thank you.
Woo.
I'm going to be completely honest with everybody.
Uh-oh.
I stayed in for an additional 3 years because of the
Ah.
fact that
Ow.
at the time I did a re-up, I had a girlfriend that I thought was going to turn into a actual wife. Yes, I was dick thinking.
At least he wasn't finger thinking, because that would have been
Well,
weird.
she proved to be unworthy. I've told you all about that one before,
Unworthy.
and we are not going to say any more about her, her family, or her friends that decided to try to make my life a living hell after I gave her the boot. And the big and only reason I re-enlisted was because, like I said, I thought she and I were going to be a semi-permanent thing, and I needed the Army medical at the time. Because at the time I worked in Walmart or worked at Walmart, and yeah, Walmart health insurance, not good.
Oh, no, that's... Ooh, okay, that is...
Who you or what ship are you lining up on there, Jackal?
That's the Yamato. I know that giant superstructure. That's not good. Okay, I'm gonna fire my rockets and then say, screw
Peel off.
this. Too late. Okay, I guess they fired a beehive shell at me. I hate those.
Hey, at least you got your ordnance off.
That's why I said fire rockets and then peel off, because that will happen to you. Because the Japs aren't exactly very good opponents. They're very nasty to fight.
Well, they were historically they were one of the nastiest militaries to go up against.
Yeah, because for
There,
thousands of years, warfare
and
was their national pastime.
well, that's also true of the Greeks. The thing is with the Japanese though, they had a level of discipline that would make the Spartans and the Roman warriors look like amateurs.
That's
Because
not
little
how...
known secret about ancient Sparta and ancient Greece or ancient Rome, when their soldiers were not actively out on campaign, in the case of Sparta, they were in camps drilling. And in the case of Rome and most of the other Greek city states, they were in the farms making or in the fields making sure their farms were actually productive. The Japanese, if you were a soldier, that's all you studied for the time you were serving.
Yeah, you literally dedicated every aspect of your life to it.
Well, no, we can't exactly go that far because there there were a great many samurai who also did other fine arts such as haiku and water painting.
Well, that
some
I
of the
do know.
some of the more infant or some of the more famous watercolors from the Japanese feudal era were actually done by shogun and samurai.
Yep, because they were extremely disciplined people. So when it came down
Mm-hmm.
to literally anything else, they excelled at it strictly
Mm-hmm.
just by self will.
Pretty much. And there's a reason why they were a very highly regarded military force, and why after World War II they were pretty much constitutionally banned from having anything resembling a military,
Yeah. It's
because
also why
everyone was
I.
afraid of what would happen if they went to war again.
Yeah, when they start saber rattling, things go bad.
And now, as of about 5 years ago, they've started rebuilding their military back to being an offensive force.
Oh, dang it, I saw that shell coming too. That's an 18-inch shell of death.
Technically, MM43, we did that twice.
I'm the
Because the
one who
first,
says we should have kept dropping. We shouldn't have stopped it too.
well, you know why we stopped at 2, Jackal.
That's because that's all we had at the moment.
Yeah, pretty much.
We had 14 more in production, but they were not
Well,
ready.
and the thing is, we didn't even know that the 2 that we dropped were going to work.
No, we were just trying to throw anything against the wall to see what stuck.
And
Because
the
we
whole
just
thing
wanted the
with
war to end.
and the whole thing with the nukes is we were trying to make sure we didn't have to invade the mainland, because
Yeah,
it
with the
would have been an
mainland.
absolute bloodbath.
Ah! Oh. Yeah, definitely. Well, I
I
just kamikazed my plane into theirs. Ah!
So, Jackal, did you just hit a plane with another plane?
No, I rammed my Hellcat, which was already on fire and burning, into the superstructure.
Okay. Hey,
Like I said, I gave them a taste of their own medicine by
well,
kamikazing my plane into their ship.
I don't have any hard data on this, but I suspect there were a lot of American servicemen in both the Atlantic and the Pacific who kind of did the same deal if they had to.
Yeah, because
Because
you're
they
like
only,
you're already gonna go down. You already know it. May as well take the enemy
yeah,
down with you.
well, and especially in situations like Midway, where they were so far away from friendly craft that they probably would have been gotten by sharks or gotten by enemy surface elements. They probably guided in. And yeah, Broken Pine, you are dead on the mark with those estimates for if we had invaded the Japanese mainland.
Was it like 1,000,000 casualties?
No, best currently known estimates were about 2 million Allied dead and twice that during an invasion itself, or during a primary invasion.
Hmm. So I talked to an old World War II vet, and he said that he was I think he was just Navy because he was part of the fleet. Uh, can't remember what his
He could have been
duty
Navy or
was,
Marines if he said he was part of the fleet.
but he did say that I was pretty close to the numbers that he
Yeah.
was hearing when I said 1,000,000 casualties estimated.
Well, MM43 actually has a good point on there, which I don't know how true that is, but it would not surprise me, MM43. Where, if he remembered correctly, we haven't had to make any more purple heart medals since World War II because of the anticipation of the mainland attack on Japan.
Ugh.
Yeah, when I say it was expected to be an absolute bloodbath, I'm being very, very guarded with that statement.
Oof, excuse me.
Because expectations were it was going to be something that even 40K authors would look at and go, okay, that's not going to be a good idea. And Broken Pine, the numbers on that ha- have been so hard to actually pin down because there's like 5 different sources of information. So you might be off, I might be off, Jackal might be off, or we could all be closer to the mark than any of us really know. I'm not going to I'm not going to quibble over that.
Oh, I'm about to make a big mistake.
What are you about to do, Jackal?
I am about to get in a cruiser and challenge the Yamato.
You know what the funny thing is? If I remember the stats on those Japanese battleships correctly, if you got within about 2 miles of them, their main guns would not be able to effectively depress to engage you.
No, those things were meant to reach out and touch somebody. If you get under the range of their guns, they can't train the guns low enough to fire at you with their big 18-inch guns.
Yeah, that's pretty much the way it was. And MM-43, you're not wrong. If I remember right, the Yamato actually survived the war itself and ended up going to the bottom of the ocean during one of the Bikini Atoll experiments. Or was that her sister ship? I can never remember.
I think it was the Musashi that happened to, because the Yamato did get sunk during the war.
Okay.
It was sunk by a bunch of aircraft. We just threw like 200
Okay, yeah,
aircraft at it.
that's right. I remember there was a Fat Electrician video about it that I thought was absolutely hilarious because of the way he broke it down. So, okay. My bad, I stand corrected.
Oh wait, this isn't a cruiser. What the hell? I'm in a Fletcher class destroyer. This is about to be bad.
St. Louis Arch, that has neither been confirmed nor denied.
I sure hope not. Let's see the Yamato flying around in space. That'd be a travesty.
It could be worse. They could do that with the Bismarck.
Well, according to SCP, it kind of does, just not
Well,
in space. It just comes back.
we're not gonna mention that organization. I've already been threatened with amnestics over it.
I've already told them to fuck off, or else I would launch Globex at them and have them all killed, as well as all the entities that they have under their control.
Okay, let me ask you this question, Jackal, since you brought that up and opened the door.
Which may have been a mistake.
How would 682 handle Globex?
It wouldn't.
Considering the fact that thing adapts to everything.
No. That's still not gonna work.
What would they do? Shoot it into the sun?
No, they'd probably just have someone disintegrate it down to the last molecule.
Oh, you mean like 001 tried to do?
Yeah. Well.
A couple of times.
Fuck! Holy shit! Well, that didn't last long. Yeah, that's
MM-43. I think you're on the right track for Jackal.
I tried, but before I could even get there, I was about to, but according to the game logic, weapons take like a second, maybe a second and a half when you switch weapons to actually ready. Which I kind of hate, because realistically, the only thing I would have to do to switch weapons and arm them is literally one switch.
Well, that's actually the thing, Jackal. If it was an electrically fired weapon system, it might take a few seconds for the electricity to actually get processed all the way through.
I'm pretty sure these are analog.
Well, I'm just saying. I'm not trying to argue the point. I'm just pointing that out because there are some weapon systems that do take a moment to get fully ready when you switch over.
Okay, now that right there is just pissing me off.
Hey, Slick South, welcome to the party. And Broken Pine, you're not wrong. I honestly just wish one of our dive bombers would have done an Arizona to the Yamamoto. That would have been a very poetic, balanced justice right there.
Oh, we finally got it. Somebody sank it.
Uh, please tell me you get the reference there, Jackal.
Yes, I know. It happened at Pearl Harbor, yes.
I'm just talking about one down the smokestack.
Yes, exactly.
That
If it
that
had
would
an
have been perfect poetic justice right there.
if it had an ass stack, we should have just dropped a bomb down that. But I don't think those exist.
No, they really don't.
Ooh, but there is a little destroyer over here. Okay, who's shooting at my back? That motherfucker.
You're firing aircraft rockets at warships, correct, Jackal?
Yes.
Weren't those essentially 2-inch rockets?
No, I think they were more like 20 millimeter.
Okay, so did they really have the warhead capability to punch through the belt armor?
Not shooting at the belt. I shoot at the superstructure, and if I do like a dive bomber style top down attack, I aim for the soft parts of the wooden deck,
Honestly,
which
if you aim
is
for the stacks, you're going right into their engine cores, basically.
yeah, that's usually what I do is I aim for the superstructure. You try to
Which,
hit anything directly above or below the waterline, you're really not going to be doing much damage at all.
which honestly, my little joke about the Arizona, there was actually a piece of tech implemented by pretty much all Pacific navies that would have stopped that from happening after Pearl Harbor. They started putting grating in the top of the smokestacks. So essentially, a dive bomber, yeah, you could try doing that and hope that the bomb would actually punch through the grate, but odds would be quite high that all you would do is have it bounce off and hit something to either side of the smokestack.
Okay, I think I'm seeing the problem here. Problem is that the mod maker is not too keen on shell velocity because these these planes that are shooting at me, their 20 millimeter cannon shells are flying a whole lot faster than my 50 calibers.
Yeah, that's not supposed to happen. 20
No,
millimeters are relatively slow firing rounds.
yes, yeah, that's hence why the Japs put a mixture of machine guns and cannons on their Zeros. They had two
Actually, so did the Germans.
7.7s. Yeah,
The
the Germans
Germans did
did the
very much
exact
the
same
same
thing.
thing with their Messerschmitt fighters.
Yeah,
They would have a centerline 30 millimeter cannon, maybe a 20 millimeter on some of the early models that were backed up by I want to say 20 or 30 cal machine guns in the wings.
yeah, just their 8 millimeter Mauser machine guns.
Okay, well, thank you for correcting that. I'll admit I'm rusty on my World War II tech. I used to know it pretty well, but I stopped studying it.
I'm literally preferring the machine guns on this SBD dive bomber than the guns on that damn thing. Motherfucker.
Well, I do know that the P-30 or dang it, I want to say it was a P-38. That was the actual nomenclature. The Mustang my grandfather worked with was armed with 6 wing mount or wing based or 50 caliber machine guns.
You had a variety of airplanes that did that. The Hellcat did that. The P-51 did that. The the P-47 actually had 8, which was
St.
very
Louis Arch,
impressive.
Broken Pine, thank you both. like I said, my memory for World War II tech is not where it should be anymore to be actually intelligibly talking about it.
But yeah, I think it was a variety of aircraft that we launched that
Well,
were like
most
that.
of the American airplanes, if I remember right, utilized 50 cals as their primary ordnance, with underwing stores kind of a secondary option.
Yeah, because that was a little bit more optimal for air-to-air combat, really.
Yeah, and back then we believed in dogfighting.
Yep, better option. Okay, who the fuck is shooting at me now?
Okay, Broken Pine, you bring up a
Target.
interesting point. I want to ask you a question. What was your favorite build from any of those that you ever did that you remember? Because I did a bunch of World War II and Cold War fighters when I was a kid as well. And I know my favorite build was doing the F-14 Tomcat.
My dad's got one of those too.
Oh, as a kid, I probably built like 5 or 6 of that airplane.
Can't remember if Dad worked on any of those, but I do know that he definitely worked on the A7s.
Oh, the old Sky Raider.
Yep.
Now, I've refreshed my memory on that one, Jackal. Wasn't the Sky Raider the last prop-driven aircraft that the U.S. Navy actively utilized?
No, I mean the A7. I think were they considered that? Was it the A7 that was the intruder or the A6? I think it
Okay,
might have been the A6.
that's the A6. The A6 was the intruder, and I know that because I read Flight of the Intruder multiple times as a teenager.
But the A7s, I think, were also jet propulsion.
Okay.
At
Well,
least the ones that
again,
he worked on.
going off of memory from stuff that I read many, many years ago.
Yeah, well, mine's rusty too because there's just too much to remember.
Oh, Broken Pine, that was a lovely build to do. I did one of those. I I had one of those that was a Revel kit that had all of the bells and whistles available. Beautiful model to assemble. I wish I would have kept it in better condition, but I think I was like 10 at the time.
And I'm about to get shot down again. Bark! Uh,
Richard Dean Stevens, welcome to the chat, good sir. And thank you for correcting that. If I remember right, the Corsair 2, wasn't that the one that had the ginormous air intake that that deck crews had the unfortunate habit of having to avoid or get a very guided tour of an engine bay while it was operational?
yeah, it is now that I think about it. Yeah, because my dad did tell me a story about that, having to scrape a guy out of there because, well, somebody got sucked in.
A guy or most of a guy? Because I don't think I know there was at least one guy who survived that encounter, but I think most people who had that happen, they didn't last long.
I guess technically it would have been parts of a guy would have been getting scraped out.
I remember seeing an Inside Edition video from years ago in the 90s where it was a deckhand on a U.S. Navy carrier that was a little too close to an A7 while it was getting prepped for launch, and he got sucked into the thing and sped out the back end and survived.
That's what you hope for. King, damn it!
Uh,
Ah.
I saw that and was like, I respect those guys, but I will never be one of them.
Okay, I'm getting tired of this. I'm cheating. I'm about to cheat.
Well, Jackal, they say if you're not cheating, you're not trying.
Well, I'm about to commit treachery, probably.
Broken Pine, I completely agree with you. Doing an A7 model with the flying tiger teeth on the air intake.
You should make a P40 with a tiger with a shark's mouth.
That's what he's
decal
talking
on it.
about. I think
Is
that's what
that
he's talking about there, Jackal.
that or the A7? Because it said
They
there
both
was
used it a few times.
Well, there's a specific reason why I recommend the P40.
No, fire away.
Because an homage to the Flying Tigers.
Yep, one of the most famous aerial units in World War II from the US side.
Yeah. Before the Chinese were communist through and through.
Yeah, back when the Chinese were actually combatants worthy of. I'm not going to say anymore. That gets a little too close to something I really shouldn't talk about, even at this point. Come back in 70 years. If I'm still alive, I'll tell you.
70 years, man, you'd be like 110 or something.
Let's see. I am 42. Yeah, I'd be 110. And by then, my memory might be Joe Bidening.
Joe Biden.
Hey, I no longer have to worry about them getting on to me about insulting the chain of command, so I'm going to call it like I see it. That man's got dementia.
Well, damn it. Well, I can say this for certain that there is a drastic difference in production quality of the mods that allow me to fly these particular aircraft. And let's just say that the Zeros definitely have the distinct advantage here, which is kind of disappointing. But they both
honestly,
have different manufacturers.
As much as we knock on the Mitsubishi Zero, that aircraft did have a lot of good points to it from an airframe and combat standpoint. Pilot survivability sucked, but it did have a lot of good points as well.
Yeah, but when you're talking about modifications for a game, usually it's going to be all coming down to who's the maker of it, because the designer of the mod will kind of determine its effectiveness in the gameplay.
I completely understand. And MM43 has a good question. So anyone in the chat, feel free to drop it. And Jackal, I'd like you to be the first one to answer this one. What is your favorite all-time aircraft and why?
Oh man, that one's tough.
It's a good question.
It is, and it makes me think here.
Well, here, let's break this down just a bit. Let's break it into 3 categories: jet-powered, rotary wing, and prop-driven.
Okay, so different.
That might make it a little easier for you to narrow down.
Yeah, that definitely will. Yeah. Well, prop, I think. Woo. Let's see. Well, the P-38 was definitely a high one up there. P-47 was really good for survivability. P-51 was really good for just raw power. And I'm thinking...
That's the reason they called it the Mustang.
Yeah. Oh, man. The F-4U Corsair was very good for a Navy aircraft.
So I'm detecting a distinct trend from you there, Jackal. You seem to be really fond of World War II era planes.
Well, it's where you see the basically the finest hour of prop-driven aircraft.
Hey, I'm not knocking it. I am not knocking it. This is your taste, and I gave you the opportunity to be the first one to answer.
I have to say the P-51. I know that's a stereotypical answer, but I have to say that because all round as an aircraft meant to engage the enemy from long distance travel, have the stamina to carry the pilot back home, and have the firepower to shred the enemy and send them down in a coffin of twisted steel and flame. I'd have to say it's a P-51. Don't get me wrong, the P-47 and P-38, they have their uses, but all around, I think P-51 is it.
Slick South brings up a really good one, and you got a star on this comment, good sir. The Waco glider, because the massive size of the balls of those men who rode them into battle. Yeah, those guys definitely needed wheelbarrows.
The balls are too big.
Yeah, that I would never be crazy enough to get on one of those things. And that's coming from a guy whose whole job in the military for vast majority of his time in was going into places with weird gases that could kill you in a few seconds if your gear wasn't right. So, but what was your favorite jet-driven aircraft, Jackal?
I think I gotta say the F-86.
Ooh, good choice.
The F-86 just it had that prestige of being a gunfighter. And it still required skill in order to really fly those things. You
Oh yeah,
didn't have technology to do the hard work for you. You still had to use tactics from the Second World War for gunfighting because that's all you had. But you had to have the reflexes to keep up with the, over 500 miles per hour speed that you were doing this dogfighting in.
I can definitely respect that choice. What about rotary wing?
Oh, rotary wing. I'm thinking maybe as cool as the V-22 Osprey looks, I don't know. I think it might be a toss-up between a Chinook and a V-22 Osprey. I'll just say
trip carrying capacity for you.
Well, yeah, and plus you can mount a lot of firepower on a larger aircraft like that anyways. I mean,
Yeah,
an Apache will have it like in just raw firepower, but you can pack a lot of firepower on a V-22 or a Chinook. You can just mount
Yeah,
minigun
unfortunately they don't use those as combat platforms though.
Yeah.
I know where you're going. They could easily turn them into something like the helicopter equivalent of the AC-130.
You technically could. I mean, it shouldn't be that difficult to mount either a minigun or a pair of M2 Brownings on the ramp on the back of either one. In fact, when I was at the Air Force Museum, there was a Chinook that I think was just gunned out there that they had on display. It had a minigun sticking out the side.
Damn. MM43 brings up a point that you might find amusing.
Well, Chinooks, yeah, you can partially put it in the water so a SEAL team can drive their RHIB up there.
See, my favorites from those categories, one of them, I'll admit, it's because of family interaction, the P-51. Hey, JMO.
Hello.
After I give my answers to these questions, I want your answer to this as well. For me, the P-51, again, that's because of family connection. Favorite jet-powered aircraft isn't actually a combat aircraft per se. SR-71 Blackbird. That thing's performance specs are still classified and will probably be classified until the day every one of us on this panel end up in the ground.
Unless we can somehow steal that data.
Well, okay. Did you know on its first taxi test that the SR-71 accidentally took off?
No, I didn't.
Yeah. The body of that aircraft is so good at generating lift that at the low speeds necessary to taxi, it actually went up into the air. Scared the living daylights out of the test pilot from everything I've read. Not to mention the control crew, the ground crew, and everyone else.
And oh no, that's not good.
Broken Pine, you definitely have my congratulations on that one. And that is, from what I understand, that is a tough airframe to master. But for me, rotary wings is something that's gonna come right out of a history book, and most of you probably won't recognize the nomenclature, but you will recognize the name. AH-1 Cobra.
Oh yeah, that's Vietnam War.
The precursor of the Apache. And if I
Yep.
remember right, it was the Marine Corps' attack helicopter of choice for several decades.
I think they used them in Afghanistan, I think.
Yeah, to my knowledge, they did. But again, that's to my knowledge, and I could be completely wrong.
All right. So, what's the subject? Your favorite fighter
All right,
jet?
the question is, what is your favorite aircraft of all time? Now, I went ahead and added to it by giving some categories: prop driven, jet driven, rotary wing.
Um, so jet driven, I'm gonna have to go with the B-2 bomber. I've always loved that thing.
Oh, the Spirit.
Yeah,
Oh yeah, nothing says "F you" like dying in dial-up.
right.
You won't even hear it coming. Boom! You're dead.
Pretty much.
It's like,
So-
oh, what's that? A blip on the radar?
what'd
It's
you
just
say?
a bird.
What were we doing? So it was propeller and what else?
Propeller
Propeller and
rotary.
rotary wing as well.
Yeah.
And this is a judgment-free question. You can answer whatever you darn well please. I'm not going to say anything about it.
Okay.
Jackal might because it's Jackal, but
I don't care enough. I'm trying to find a ship to shove a torpedo into right now.
phrasing.
No, not phrasing. I'm literally doing that.
I mean, damn, favorite propeller. Mm,
I think I'm gonna have to aim for the black tops first.
no, I'm gonna go outside the box.
Hang on, JMO. MM-43, that has got to be one of the most messed up responses I've seen to date. His favorite jet-driven aircraft is a Boeing 747. Really got that open air, can let the breeze go through your hair.
Right. For propeller, I'm gonna go with the Lockheed P-38.
Ooh.
I actually like the design of that plane. I know it's World War II, but
I don't know. World War II has been a common theme for most of us when it comes to prop craft. And both me and Jackal had the P-51.
okay.
So,
Oh, damn it.
Rotary wing. I guess.
Please tell me that I sank the ship.
I mean, it's got to be the.
The what?
yeah, you cut out there, JMO.
I think we may have lost him.
Yeah, he definitely roboted
Nope.
and then. Okay,
No,
so
I
you're
am
still
there
there.
is.
Oh, all right. Well, there it finally goes. No, I was for rotary. It's got to be the Apache.
I can respect that. And any aircraft that can delete a grid square, I have to respect.
All right. How about this one? Well, I know Jack won't be able to answer probably the best that we can, but favorite military weapon to fire?
In my case, FNP 90, original
Okay,
Belgian version.
it's not bad. All right, all right, fine. Since you answered it that way, what was your most hated weapon to shoot?
Oh, God. Can this be multiple choice?
All right, fine. I'll give multiple choice. I'll give them with the ones I hated. Okay.
Yeah, go
So
right
we'll
ahead.
go M240 Bravo,
I can agree with that completely.
Mark 19,
Hard disagree, but I can understand why you dislike it.
and oh damn it, what was the name of that other one? There's another. It was a HIMARS mounted weapon.
Oh,
You know which one I'm thinking of?
I think I do, but the problem is I don't know the nomen for it off the top of my head. I would have to see a
Damn
picture.
it.
Well, I can tell you that, Jack. I can give you a rundown. So there was a HIMARS mounted weapon, right? That most heavy platoons got, and the damn thing was like 312 pounds fully assembled, and you had to lug it fully assembled, and it jammed at least every 24 shots. Hated that weapon. Can't remember the name, but I hated that one. Very, very, very close second is the M240 Bravo.
Okay. I love the 249. So or not the 249, but the Mark 19
Mm-hmm.
because honestly, that's a system that if you're good with it, you can really mess somebody's day up.
Oh no, I was great with it. I was just let down by the loudness of the weapon.
Now, with that being said, for me, the weapon system I disliked firing the most was actually the 203.
Oh yeah.
I hated essentially having to fire a rifle like a mortar with a kick
Yeah.
that would dislocate my shoulder every dadgum time.
Yeah, 203 sucks.
Oh, God. And then
I
they
was
came out with a
terrible.
variant of it that had a pistol grip that was supposed to improve your accuracy.
Yeah,
God,
dude.
that thing was so much worse. Oh my God.
My all but since you answered, my all-time favorite weapon to fire, I think to this day is gonna be the 249 saw. I love that thing. It just never failed.
Again, I can't completely agree with you, but I did joke to my commander when I went to a drill last week that if I ever get called back and I'm back with his unit, just give me a saw, and if the talk's getting overrun, get everyone else the hell out of the way.
Right. 249s you can hip fire. You can shoulder fire a 249.
Oh yes, you can. And I'm one of the very few people on Fort Hood who managed to score expert and go over the scoring chart.
Nice. In the crew serve range?
Uh-huh. Using a 249.
Very, very underestimated weapon.
And it royally hacked off most of the people who were in charge of that range. I could cycle fire that damn thing.
Oh, all right, hold on. Since we're on this, we'll do one more. Favorite foreign weapon you ever fired?
Well, technically that would be the P90 because, like I said, it was a Belgian weapon.
Yeah,
Mine would be the Kar 98K.
that's not
That's a
bad.
respectable rifle.
Mosins are great too. I've fired those shoulder killers. My favorite is the AN-94.
Ooh, that's a pretty one.
Those are
I-
very rare.
Um,
For Russian weapons, they look good and they work good.
yeah, the fact that we had a chance to pick them up from the old Soviet and we didn't, I was actually let down. I mean, I get it, 7.62, but the angled loading harness was such an amazing dream to use.
Well, and the thing is, they could have easily rechambered that thing. We
Oh
rechamber
yeah,
rifles all the dadgum time.
yeah.
I mean, hell, most
You could have left the firing system there and just changed it to a 5.56, and it would have been completely NATO again.
exactly. And you know the biggest reason why we stick with we stuck with the Colt platform?
Russia wanted too much money.
No, no.
Oh.
Although that probably had part to do with it. This this company was on Congress's sack so tightly that they basically were on promotion pads.
Oh yeah. But that killed me when I got to test fire that when I went to I can't really call it motherland. But before I joined the Marines, when I saw a dual citizenship, I got to test one of those with my cousin. I love that rifle.
No, it.
Reloading was so fast on that gun.
I'm
You
gonna
didn't
say it's
have to.
probably because of the angled magazine.
Oh yeah, it was just a good enough angle. It was just drop up in. None of this. All right, back to back, last plaque, Roxy tug, smack the shit out of it to get it in there. All right, ready to go again.
Hmm. See, I was lucky with the last M4 that I went to the range with. I didn't have to do any of that. I just slammed the thing in, hit the
Right.
feed assist once, and was able to do my business with it. And I got lucky as all get out.
Right. But when I looked at some of the magazine setups they had for this gun, they had one called the Casket magazine, right?
Ooh.
And I'll never forget. I asked my cousins like, "Why do you guys call it a casket magazine? Because if I see you, you're going in one." I was like, "Huh, yeah, fair enough."
So I assume it was just disliked.
What, the casket mag?
Yeah.
No, it was a statement. Basically, if he saw you, you were gonna be in a casket. Get it like you were
Okay.
gonna die.
So if you, the user, were seen carrying one, or
No, no, no. So it had a magazine that looked similar to a coffin.
okay, so kind of like the coffin handle bayonets that the U.S. military used
Yeah,
for a while. Okay.
yeah.
No, that's what when you said if I see you with it, you're gonna die. I was like, wait a minute. If you, never mind. I'm not gonna go any deeper in that.
Yeah, but but no, that was a really cool rifle to use. I've actually never shot a car, surprisingly enough. I shot
Neither
the
have I.
British sniper rifle. I've shot that one before. Their World War II rifle. What was it?
Uh,
It
uh,
started with an L.
oh, the Lee Enfield.
Yeah, there you go.
See, I'm gonna be honest. I was in the military for 23 years. I'm not really a gun nut. I know certain platforms that I like and certain
That's
ones that I'm just like, I don't really care.
and that's the way I am. Like, I got buddies who were all about guns and all about ammo. They're like, "Man, what's your opinion?" I was like, "Oh, I quit listening." They're like, "Why
It's
don't you
I
better
care
to
about
be.
guns?" Because I've shot most of them. It becomes unfun after a while.
It'll be fine.
well, for
Besides, it's better to be a gun nut than a butt nut.
Exactly.
I can agree with that. See, my whole thing with it is for the vast majority of my career, I sucked with the rifle. I mean, I had to go out multiple times to be able to qual a lot of times, and yet you don't really have fun with something like that when you don't do good with it.
Right.
Wow.
And I'll openly admit I was horrible with the rifle. I was one of those soldiers that Pop would be like, "Dude, you suck. You need to be retrained."
You suck, you son of a bitch! Get down,
And
do
I
push-ups!
the thing is, I openly admitted that I was not good with that or with the rifle. The very last range I went to, probably because I just didn't give a flying fart, I shot 38 out of 40.
Nice.
I have no idea how I did that, but they had me out there coaching, and everyone I coached scored at the very least in the high 30s. So, except for one guy who, no matter what we did, we couldn't quite get him to dial in. But it might also be the new rifle table that the Army switched over to. Because they no longer do the whole go to prone supported, fire 20 rounds, go to prone unsupported, fire 10 rounds, go to kneeling, fire 10 rounds. You now have all 40 rounds split between 3 magazines that you have to reload and go to the different positions on your own. I mean,
Right.
it's a better table system because it actually flows more naturally. But for a lot of people, it also is a harder system to actually do. I mean, there are several people I knew on active duty who hated the new system that they were going to. And they kept trying to argue that, oh, it's going to be unsafe. Soldiers are going to be shooting or flagging everyone on a regular basis. Blah, blah, blah. How are basic trainees going to be able to get this? And like I said, the first time I went and did it, I scored expert after 20 years of not being able to hit the broadside of a barn indoors with a tactical nuke.
That's pretty bad.
Well, hey, at least I admit it.
Yeah, well, I can only say that the only bullseye that I've ever gotten at 50 meters was, I think it was with that car. And that was with iron sights, and I'm not that good.
It's all about breathing. Get your breathing
Yeah,
down.
I,
You'll be
I,
all right.
I pulled the trigger as I was exhaling.
Gotta
Oh,
time it. Mid exhale's the best.
the thing is, for me, it never mattered what it is I tried to do. Every every piece of advice I tried to incorporate, I I flubbed it somehow. And then I just went out there not really caring if I did good or not because I knew I was on my way out anyway, and somehow I blew it away. No pun intended.
Just don't blow it.
No, my name's not Turd.
And last time I checked, your middle name isn't Curd either.
Exactly. Okay, so
Ow.
we've been going for about an hour. I really don't have a huge I didn't even have really hardly anything on the agenda for tonight. So unless you guys have something that you'd like to go ahead and touch on, I think we're at a point where it's a nice good stopping point. We've each discussed some different weapon systems and aircraft. Actually, no, there's one thing we forgot to touch on. And JMO, I think you might like this or hate it. So I apologize.
Okay.
What is your favorite ground vehicle of all time? And this can be a combat, a transport, or a support vehicle. I don't care. And chat, feel free to enter this into your or put your answer in this one as well.
Oh, man, my
Jackal,
favorite.
would you like to go first on this?
I'll try. It's a toss-up
Okay.
between the M26 Pershing and the M1A2 Abrams.
Okay, I can respect both of those. Do you have a particular reason why you like those particular platforms?
Well, the Pershing, I like it because it was when we actually tried to take a main battle tank design seriously.
Okay.
And the Abrams, well, obviously,
Yeah, the Abrams is
is
the Abrams. It's the be all end all at this point,
pretty much.
at least for the North America.
Yeah, I'd say a good competitor with that would have been the Leopard CA2, I think.
Yeah, the German Leopard's a respectable platform.
When it comes down to military technology, the Germans are usually at the top or not too far behind.
Well, you know the Leopard and the Abrams were designed concurrent with each other, right?
Yeah, it was I think during the 80s when they were looking for replacements for the what was it, the M60s.
Yep.
NATO was looking for a new uh weapons platform to compete with the Soviets, like T-72s and shit. And I
Something
think
like
it
that.
was, I'm trying to think what the original design
The idea was NATO wanted to have a universal platform.
yeah. So they were kind of built off of like a similar base design.
That's
The
why
only
American, French, and German tanks of the late '80s, early '90s all look very similar.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
JMO, what's your answer on this one?
I mean, I would have to say just because of nostalgia. But it's not a ground vehicle. It had to be delivered by train. So that doesn't count, right? Doesn't
No,
count.
go ahead and say what it is.
The Gustav.
The
Oh,
Carl
the
Gustav
Germans like
artillery
super,
piece.
yeah,
Yeah.
super heavy artillery piece. That one
It's
right
still
there's crazy.
it's still a vehicle. I'm not gonna mock it.
I mean,
I
I understand it's German, but the damn thing could launch shells over fucking 100 miles. Like the thing was amazing.
Yeah,
Uh,
an
um.
MM-43 has a good out of the box one. The armored
Oh yeah.
tractor. Strap 250 cals to it and drive it in.
Yeah. Well, hell, didn't Russia just come out with some new thing? Like the
Problem.
T-14 Armada.
I
Yeah,
heard that thing's a piece of shit.
I've heard mixed reviews on that thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think they should have just stuck with the T-72 and the T-80.
Or the
Well, the thing is,
T-90.
though,
The
and this is going to get a
T-90
lot of hate in
was
the chat, and
eh.
I don't care. The Russians haven't in Ukraine haven't really been using a lot of their really good stuff. They've been using their older stuff that's been in depot for the last 20 years.
Yeah, they're just trying to get rid of it.
So I I have a sneaky suspicion if the Russians were actually to start unloading their new high-tech, high-end stuff, we'll all be singing a very different tune very quickly.
Well, it sounds like Iraq and Afghanistan are about to after that whole shebang they're claiming they did in Russia.
Yeah. Let's not touch that. It's that's
Fair
gonna be
enough.
too that's gonna be too spicy, and I I don't wanna
No,
get
I
into
got
that
you.
at this point.
I'm trying
But
to.
my personal favorite vehicle, ground vehicle of all time, that most of the people in the chat will never have heard of. JMO, you've probably never heard of. Jackal, because you're into all sorts of weird esoteric stuff militarily, you may have heard of this. The M93A1P2 Fox reconnaissance vehicle.
Yeah,
The Seaburn Sniffer.
yeah, the Seaburn sniffer.
I'm actually qualified on that vehicle. And if it wasn't for the fact that I am not a multimillionaire, I would probably own one. That
I mean,
that has got to be the best vehicle I ever directly worked with.
well, I mean, I had an opportunity to train on the amphibious landers in the Marines, and they didn't trust me enough for me to do it. You know, once a smart ass, always a smart ass.
Yeah. Jackal, have you ever seen a fox?
Nope.
Would you like to?
No.
Well, if I can get this thing to call up, you're going to see a pic of one anyway.
I will
Guys.
minimize the screen then.
Honestly, I would gush over this thing till the cows come home.
Now, Jackal, what's your opinion on HIMARS vehicles?
On what?
HIMARS. HIMARS.
Are you talking about like those rocket launching trucks or something?
Yeah.
I really don't care. I mean, it gets the job done, I guess. I'd prefer direct fire artillery, but okay.
All right. So, what's your favorite artillery piece then? Please don't say mortars.
No, it would have been the Flak 37 88 millimeter.
Oh, okay.
That is a respectable choice right there.
It is.
But
I mean, that thing
that
was so flat shooting. Just, you could use it for anything. Shoot at a plane or shoot at a tank on the ground.
Jackal, on the screen right now is a picture of an old Fox reconnaissance vehicle.
Yep.
It's not one of the A3P2s that I was mentioning, but I was still fully qualified to operate this thing. This little periscope looking thing on the top, all of us used to refer to that thing as R2D2, at least in the company I was in. Because what we would do is we would bring the vehicle to a dead stop at a location. Our assistant vehicle, because Foxes never go out alone, would park a few miles to one side or the other. We would pop those things up, get an intersecting view, and we could determine if there was a chemical weapon that was deployed in that area that had an airborne component, using just the camera systems in that thing. The back of the vehicle, it is also it's basically a rolling chemical laboratory. Not in the fact that it can make chemical weapons, but in the fact that it can identify a lot of them.
Right.
I don't know if you all can see my mouse on screen, but this back area here has a station that somebody can go into, run a mobile mass spectrometer, grab samples out the back end of the vehicle and stick them to where people can grab them without having to go into the vehicle. And the entire thing is pressurized. So everyone outside could be in MOP 4, and I could be just wearing my regular ACU or BDU. Now, don't get me wrong, the interior of the thing was hotter than an oven, but honestly, if you are in a situation where you need the overpressure, you just drink more water.
Yeah. Hold on a second. I'm trying to see if I can.
But unless either of you have something else that you want to go ahead and jump in there with on the chat or on this discussion, I think we're at a point where calling it would be a good idea.
Yeah, probably.
Oh, I forgot about that one.
What'd you forget about doing?
So I want to change my answer for the jet because I completely forgot about this one, and I was just making sure I got the name of it right.
Okay.
I want to change it from the B2 to the F4 Phantom.
Again, respectable aircraft. Are you talking about it when it was loaded out for air-to-air combat or air-to-ground combat?
Air to ground.
Ah, the Wild Weasel.
Right? the napalm deliverer.
Well, I'm specifically mentioning the Wild Weasel because those were the first guys that were crazy enough to actually target anti-aircraft batteries deliberately.
Yeah.
Even in World War II, you didn't have a dedicated airframe that was intended for that one role.
Oh no.
Where
Hold on. Well, one last weapon system everybody forgot. Favorite ship. Everyone's got one.
Jackal, you want to go first on this?
PTs.
Ooh, patrol torpedo boats. Definitely not something that most people like to acknowledge. MM-43? Yeah. You brought up the class that I would bring up myself. The Iowa class battleship.
Nice.
All right, JMO, so what's your answer on this?
Just because I've been on it, the USS Wasp.
If I remember right, wasn't that a World War II destroyer?
Yeah, and then they re-upped it in the 80s to make it an amphibious landing.
Oh, nice. Yeah, that bug had a sting to it.
Oh yeah, well I mean,
Wasn't that the joke about the wasp?
yeah, it had a sting to it. It didn't make you feel good to be in the Navy if you had to say that to people. I mean, it's the damn thing was so computerized when I saw it. I'm pretty sure it could have shot the nuts off of a hummingbird with a 30 millimeter round.
Well, okay,
Like
let's
it was so accurate.
JMO, let's just be honest here. With the way that they've computerized gunnery for artillery pieces and naval ordnance, that's probably true for most of the kit that we actively have in service
Oh,
at the moment. Honestly, I'd be surprised if an MLRS isn't configured in such a way where they could put one missile into a conference room to take out one guy.
oh yeah.
I
Well, we've had bunker buster rounds for years.
Oh yeah. Oh, and then there's the flying Ginsu knife that Fat Electrician mentioned probably about a year ago on his channel.
Yeah.
So, but all that being said, gentlemen, I think this is a good point to go ahead and call a stop to this because we've only got 3 people on here. And Slick South, that's a good one. I will be honest with you. That's another good one. The USS Barb from World War II.
Oh yeah, it did speak of Nazi trade.
I think it was Japanese, but either way,
Oh,
it's the only U.S. submarine that has the honor of putting a train on its battle flag.
yeah.
But yep, Broken Pine, you know exactly what I'm referring to.
Yeah.
And MM-43 brings up a good point. He would not be surprised if, with all the upgrades, we couldn't use our battleships to deliver precision ordnance like that.
Right.
I think the only reason they actually moved away from the battleships was because of the fact that they couldn't get the guns to elevate or depress enough to really be effective at delivering artillery as deep inland as they want them to.
Right.
Because if I remember right, the USS Texas had to flood half of its ballast tanks to be able to actually go deeper or deliver ordnance to the front lines after a certain point during the Normandy invasions.
More than just the ballasts. I thought they had to actually flood some of the
The
compartments.
blister tanks.
No, the actual compartments inside the ship.
I can't speak to that one. Not Navy, not really up on naval history, so I can't speak to that. But
You
yeah,
got killed by a camper.
say again.
Oh, sorry, I was watching Jackal's thing. Sorry,
I got killed by a Papa Shaw.
by a corner camper.
Yeah, bastard was just hanging out over there with the Papa Shaw and is like, this Nazi wants to walk right past me. And just shoots me all in the back.
Well, you know what the A10 would have to say about that, right? Pretty much. Yeah, Richard Dean Stevens, that's another good and respectable set of choices right there. The USS Lafay, the Benson class, and the LMS Sumner classes. Very effective naval platforms. At least from what I've read. Honestly, JMO's closer to being a naval expert than I am.
I know a couple ships. I'm not crazy into them.
Well, like I said, you're closer than I am. I'm not saying that you're crazy about it. You just know more about the subject because of what you used to do than I do. I'm a straight land guy, so
I mean,
if
fair
it had
enough.
anything to do with water, I wasn't there.
If it had anything to do with military, I wasn't there.
Well, you may not have been there, Jackal, but you know enough about the topic to be able to have an intelligent conversation about it. So I'm not going to knock.
And if you are gonna knock on wood.
Yeah, but unfortunately, all the wood around here is particle board.
That still counts.
So, you guys have any final thoughts for the evening? I will go ahead and bring you up first for this, JMO, because you were the last one to jump in. So anything final you would like to say to the audience?
Be safe out there. The world's getting more and more retarded by the minute.
Okay, I'll drop you into the backstage and I'll bring up Jackal. All right, Jackal, any final thoughts from you, good sir?
Learn from your history because that is the best and probably the only way you can prevent from making mistakes in the future. And learn to swing a giant hammer like I'm doing because sometimes that can be useful. It also builds muscles and works out muscle groups that you usually don't exercise on an everyday, which is why you get slow and fat and flabby. So don't do that because for every one day you take off, think, what is the enemy doing to prepare right now when I'm fucking around instead?
Okay, anything further?
Nope.
All right, dropping you to the backstage. All right, well, everyone, like I said earlier, it's the Easter weekend, so I hope everyone has a if you're a practicing Christian, I hope you have a nice Resurrection Sunday. If you're a practicing Jew, I hope you have I hope the Passover celebrations that you all do are to your preference. I'm not entirely sure how to actually go further on that, so I'm going to stop before I insult anyone. For those who don't really practice either of the major religions that brought this particular holiday weekend on, I hope you have a safe and fun Sunday. Enjoy whatever it is that you choose to do. Be safe, and I hope we get to see you guys next time we come in. And for heaven's sake, whatever you do, don't eat the eggs with the green yolks. You won't appreciate it. Goodbye.